Hello, I'm going to talk about my life philosophy. But first, I'm going to get into my journey with my fundamental, I call it a coherence. It's from a happiness doctor. I forget what his name is. And I'm just going to tell you the core axiom of how I choose to live out and walk out my reality and how I make sense of the world. So, anyway, basically, um, how I did that in the beginning, about I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, is I started off with a more Hindu axiom, which was spiritual disciplines, for lack of a better term. And I would uh, read ancient writings a lot. I would uh, talk to theistic God a lot. I would uh, be very still for long lengths of time. I would really try to time my macros and my nutrients, very take care of my body, try to exercise. Didn't do very good at that stuff because I was very traumatized to where I couldn't do it. Um, and eventually I got to the point to where I ended up going to a uh, community where you live there. And I basically spent 1 hour a day in the morning uh, going through copying in my own words ancient writing, and then an hour of 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 meditative contemplation and talking with theistic God. And then I did the same thing in the afternoon, sorry, in the evening, and I did that every day for 6 months, 4 hours of spiritual disciplines a day. Not to mention, I lost 60 pounds in that time period. From being on a massive calorie deficit. I think I was having like maybe 800 calories a day or something, just fasting all the time. Intermediate fasting as well into that, which is where you only eat out of 8 hours of the day. And I believe I ate my time was eating from 12 to 6. I was okay with eating a little bit later, but basically that was my life for about whenever I was really into it for that period until I changed my fundamental axiom of how I live out my reality for about maybe I want to say maybe 8 months, 9 months, and then before that I was trying to do it for a few years, and I was better than most, way better than most, I would say, yeah, yes, I was way better than most, um, and then I moved to an Islamic axiom, which was submitting my will to God, a theistic God. And I would just listen to theistic God on whatever he wanted me to do. And I would do it. Even when it came to going to the store, right? And it wasn't submitting in the sense of moral, everything was a moral decision of right or wrong, but it was more so, I understand that I believe that theistic God is a loving God towards me, and that that things that he would prefer rather than I prefer would be better for me and bring me towards more and more happy life, right? Which I have never been happy at this point. Still working towards that. I would say I was moving closer to happiness, even to the point where I remember being in a store and I remember I saw some small jars and some big jars, and I was meal prepping for some side sauces that I was making, and I remember asking theistic God, should I get the big ones or the small ones? And I got the small ones. And I wanted to get the big ones because I'm like, well, how much do I want to use? Maybe I want to use them for something, whatever. And I got the small ones. They ended up working very well for what I wanted. And those micro decisions, it got to the point to where I was asking theistic God either consciously or even subconsciously in my work. Because again, I believe theistic God speaks through everything. He speaks through a sort of just sixth intuitive sense, speaks in your imagination. I know it sounds silly, I laugh, but he does. Speaks in the nature around us, the natural world, speaks through movies, speaks through all different kinds of things. I always get a moral lesson from a movie. I didn't know that until I really thought about it in prison. And Theist God told me that I did, and then I realized that I did, and it really would change me every time I watch a movie. But yes, so that was one. And then I started to, honestly, my life was getting more interesting. Not bad, just more interesting. And I was putting myself in situations. I was homeless for a few days on purpose. Um, well, it was more just putting myself out there for theistic God to provide for me. And he did the first night. It was supernatural. So basically, the first night, walking around, it was in Redding, California, and big homeless population there. I decided I was finishing a conference, and I ended up deciding I'm going to be homeless for a few days, maybe 4 days, between when my flight gets back. And need to make sure my battery was low, it was on like 30% or what have you. And I remember walking, and I need to wrap this up because I got to talk about other shit. Only got like 4 minutes. Basically, was very mad at theistic God that night because I thought he was going to, give me a place to stay that night, and he didn't. And I was yelling at him, and I was mad, and I realized that I talked to theistic God like a toxic relationship. Like, you don't want to talk to me because I'm your friend and I love you. You want to talk to me because you want my help. And I thought, yeah, that's true. And I apologized, and I'm still really mad at him. Not now, maybe. Yeah, I am, because he should have told me more blatantly earlier, because I would have believed him. I get, he won't tell me why. I hate that. Why he didn't. But basically, he will. He will. But basically, I hate him sometimes. I love him, but I hate him. With the love of, like being patient and kind and gentle and all those kind of good things. Self-sacrificing for him and all that. But basically, God can't self-sacrifice for you. Interesting, right? Like, because he's God and he has everything. Weird. Anymore anyway, I guess, right? Maybe he can't. I don't fucking know. He's God, right? But anyway, he, like, I get it's like God's above gender. He made it, all that kind of stuff. I use he because I grew up in a Christian area, and we used that pronoun. There's no neutral pronoun, like God, they. But anyway, they wouldn't. I was viewing him as a woman at the time because I was needing female affection because, just my mom died when I was really young, allegedly, and when I was like 3, didn't have a mom for a while. Got a stepmom, she was garbage, and so that was something that I was really seeking from theistic God. But anyway, went through that path, and it ended up getting me in jail, wrongly in prison, by the way. Basically, I got a tip at my community that someone was going to do something. Went down there. I'm not going to say it on here because I'm trying to get that overturned. Went down there, did what you do. You announce it. Hey, this is happening. Evacuate. And then basically, and then, end up in jail, and, you end up getting found guilty, and then they don't give you any jail time or time deferred for the 5 months you were there, and then you get parole. Weird, right? Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, yeah, you can hack me, by the way, because I need help. I'm broke, living with my psychologically abusive parents. Please help me if you can. You're not going to, because you're going to look into it and realize that you're going to get some sworn affidavits from some lawyers to help me that nothing's going to happen to you, but then you're going to pussy out and not help me anyway. I would help people if I got sworn affidavits from lawyers, because these people are not going to operate extrajudicially. They are litigious, legalistic people. So anyway, going back, because I only have a minute left, did that. Then now my new philosophy is that life is a game, a theodicy. And for that, you need not a theodicy. That's one kind of game. An odyssey, which has rules, rarity arriving from free will choices, meaning something needs to be rare, arriving from physics, free will, or people just making a society in a way that there are things that are naturally rare. Morality needs to teach something about morality, and it needs to help people. Teach you something about morality. Unwoving one of those contradiction oxymorons, right? Not exactly maybe that. I would say, yes, exactly that. Those 4 things make up the game philosophy that I learned in jail. And theistic God told me about that. So that's my new coherence of how I view the world, which is going to help me be happy, hopefully.